Hi, my name's Brandon, and I'd like to go over some of the common shortcuts in Microsoft Excel. These are the basic shortcuts that I feel everybody should know if you're going to be spending much time in Excel. First, I'd like to start with the new shortcut. If we have Excel open and we want to just have a blank workbook up here, we can hit Control N, and that brings up a blank workbook. You can see that it has the three default sheet names, Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and Sheet 3. And it has a default workbook name, and in this case that's Book 5. Now if we want to save this with a new name, we can hit Control S. That's going to bring up the Save As dialog box. Now the reason it does that is because the workbook has never been saved before. So it's going to allow us the option of giving it a name that we'd like to give it. So we can say New Book. If we hit Control S again, it's just going to save it without bringing up the Save As dialog box. The reason for that is because it already has a name, so there's no need to give it a new one. The next option I'd like to go over with you as far as shortcuts go is the Open shortcut, or Control O. This is going to bring up our Open dialog box. We can select a file that we'd like to open and then click Open. Now this file that I've just opened has a series of names in column B and a series of values in column C. These values are a function. They're not just a straight typed in value. They're a function that uses the random function. And so every time the worksheet recalculates itself, these values are going to change. So if I enter something in this cell and hit enter, you'll see that all my numbers just changed. Okay, now I'd like to go over the copy, cut, and paste commands. If we'd like to copy some of these cells, we can select them. And when we hit Control C, we're going to see our flashing outline appear around the cells that we've selected. And when we hit Control V, it's going to paste them. So Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Now you'll notice that the numbers that were in column C are different now that they're in column F. The reason for that is that we've copied and pasted the function, not the value. So in Excel you need to be a little wary of that. If you want to copy and then paste the values that were given to you by a function, there's a whole different way of doing that we'll get to later on. But for now, you just need to make sure that when you copy something and it's a function, it's going to paste that function. If we don't want to copy but we want to move the cells, and we'll select a different group of cells here, we can use the cut and paste. So cut is Control X. It's going to look like copy to this point. It gives us the little flashing box around the selected cells. However, when we select a different cell and we paste with Control V, you're going to see that it cut the cells from where they were and then pasted them in the new location. Now let's say we didn't want to do that, and it was a mistake. What we really wanted to do was copy and we messed up and cut instead. We can use the undo command or Control Z, and that's going to put our cells back to where we wanted them. Now we can reselect those cells, hit Control C, and then Control V to paste. Now, Control Z will undo a number of things that we've done. So we can hit Control Z once, it will undo the second paste that we did. If we hit it again, it will undo the first paste that we did. Now, if we redo with Control Y, it will redo that first paste. I'll hit Control Y again, and it redid the second one. And that won't always be the case, though. So you need to be careful with Control Y and make sure that it did what you wanted it to do. So Control Z will undo quite a number of things. Control Y will redo the last thing that you undid. Okay, lastly what I'd like to cover are the find and replace shortcuts. The find shortcut we can get to with Control F. So I'm going to hit Control F and it brings up our find and replace dialog box. You'll see that there's two tabs in this dialog box, and there's the find tab and the replace tab. When I hit Control F, it will bring me to this point, If I hit Control H, which is the find and replace shortcut, it will bring me to this point. So if I wanted to find all the instances of the name Brandon, I can type in Brandon in the find edit box right there, and then click the find next, and lo and behold, there I am in cell B8. If I click find next again, I also appear in E8, and that's because we copied and pasted those cells. The difference between the find and replace is just the option of replacing the name. So in this one, if I have Brandon in the find edit box and I have Bob in the replace edit box, and I hit find, there I show up in B8. If I hit replace, it will replace that cell with Bob, and then it will automatically find the next instance of the name Brandon, so it's gone to the E8 cell. If I hit replace again, it will replace Brandon with Bob, but because it couldn't find Brandon, it just stayed where it was. If we go back to the Find tab and click Find Next, Brandon doesn't exist anymore, so it comes up and it says Microsoft Excel cannot find the data that you're searching for. Now if we go back to the Replace tab and we try to find Bob, and we replace that with Brandon, another option that we have is the Find All, and it will come up and it will show us the cells where Bob existed. If we hit Replace All, instead of going to each cell individually, it will just replace all of them, and then it will come up and say that it has completed its search, and it will tell us the number of replacements that it made. In this case, it made 2. Okay, that does it for the basic shortcuts. I'll have another video out that will cover some of the different shortcuts as far as movement, formatting, and some of the more advanced things that you can do with Excel. So until then, thanks.